Watch out.
Hello, welcome back to the Football Terrace. Friday night, the FA Cup is about to kick off. No Premier League action, of course. We're here to re-rank and reposition the summer signings of the 21 season. When I showed you the final resting place, that sounds a bit ominous. The final resting place for these individuals from 2 months ago, bang on 2 months ago today, we did the same very show. And so much has happened in that time. I wonder where these players are going to end up. We're going to get onto that later on in the show, but that's where we left it. And interestingly, this was before we had the first ever super chat that big move people around. So for me, this is really interesting. Really, really interesting indeed, where people sit, where they move. Højbjerg, look at Cavani. Look where Timo Werner is. Look where Timo Werner is finding Nemo, Timo Morata. Look where he is in killing it. That's where Chelsea fans, it's where Neats and Monster, these man put him last time. Where are they going to end up by the end of the show? We're going to get onto this a little bit later. Make sure you smash that like button right now, though. That's very, very important. We're also adding, as you can see, because they're now part of the top six, we're going to be adding Fofana. We're going to be adding this brother as well, whose name I always forget, so I'm just going to call him this brother. It's a lot easier. He's going to be added to the mix, and we're picking the signing of the season so far. So get your super chats ready. You know the rules. £5 to move a player up and down any place, £20 anywhere you want, £50 if you want to create a new tier. We will respect the original G's that set that up, and that was you, our brilliant, brilliant audience. We've got some great guests on the show tonight, but we've got a debutant on the Football Terrace. Very excited to have him here. Big Chelsea fan, one of the biggest personalities on social media. Man like Matisse is here with us. What you saying, bro?
I'm all good, man. It's a pleasure. Do you know what I mean? It's been a long time coming that I come on here, so I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on.
Not a problem at all. Not a problem. We've got some regular faces for you as well. Bits and Bobs is in the house. He's here doing his thing, looking slick as ever. Man like Monsters here. The hood is up, which means the gym is looking bad, bro. It needs a trim. Got man like Gal in the house, sitting there looking smug, 3 from 3. Going to go through to the fourth round of the FA Cup this weekend. Indiana looks like a dwarf right now. Look how small he looks. Like, it's literally, sit a little higher, bruv. Lift that level chair up. And here he is. He's fresh, just out of bed, looking like Little Red Riding Hood. It's man like KJ in the house. What you saying, bro? All good?
Almost there, Mike. 70% recovered.
You'll be good. And I just want to say before we have a little general chit chat beforehand, we look at that current board and where everybody sits. I can already tell by your faces, some people are getting moved today. Some people are getting absolutely moved out today. So we'll delve into that. But in terms of football, FA Cup starting this weekend, and any of you excited about the FA Cup, first and foremost? Anyone actually enjoy the FA Cup anymore?
No.
Not this round. This round.
I do. Do you know what? Yeah,
I
got a burning desire in me to win this trophy because Chelsea lost the final last year to Arsenal. So I'm not really playing any games. Do you know what I mean? I don't care if it's Morecambe or Man United. I want to win. Do you know what I mean? I want us to play a strong team, week in between the fixtures. I don't give a crap. I want the trophy right now. So I'm pumped, to be honest. Let's take on Morecambe.
I agree with him. I generally want to retain the trophy, get it back, bring it back.
How is it go? Yeah, retain the trophy. Yeah,
It's Arsenal's trophy. Let's bridge the gap even more against Manchester United and have that history in our books.
Do you know what? Gal's bang on about that. For me, the last 2 FA Cup wins for Chelsea, Arsenal have been the most painful because we were level with them and they're 2 in front of us. So it's going to take years for us to cap that back. And of course, every big club's desire should be to have the most league titles, the most FA Cups, the most Champions Leagues. And we've got one of those 3 at Man United. Arsenal have one and Liverpool have the other. Chelsea, you got a long way to go. Don't worry about Tottenham. Do you know, I think I'll be, when I die, hopefully I live to be 80, 90. I don't think Tottenham will have caught up by that point. So it is what it is. We've got Neeks and Anita on the way soon as well to be with us. In terms of, tonight's game, it was probably the biggest game of the third round, Liverpool-Villa. It's going ahead, but it looks like as though Villa's under 12s, under 11s, or whatever are going to be playing in this game tonight. Do you think that's the right thing to do? Or should, if a team has this outbreak of positive tests, should games just be forfeited and the team with the problem out of the competition or forfeiting points in the league? This cancelling games or putting out understrength sides, does anyone agree with that approach? Or
Yes.
think,
Yeah,
Well,
I think it's right.
depends what point you look from it. though.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Didn't Leighton Orient forfeit against
No,
Tottenham?
yes.
yeah.
So why
but
can't Aston Villa in that forfeit?
Here's what I'm saying though. We have academies for a reason. Why do we have academies? Why do you have all
Thank
these
you,
extra man that play for football clubs if they're not going to get played if the first team can't get played? If your first team got COVID, then one, you need to look up investigate how they got it in the first place, and two, you got to go play the people you've got. It's like in war. In war? Do like countries be like, oh guys, we can't do the war right now. Most of our army's ill.
They forfeit.
No, they use the reserves, bro. You know what I'm saying? They command them. You know what I'm saying? So this is the same thing, fam. You can't be like, oh, but we're ill. No, use your academy. That's what it's there for.
Yeah, I think there's. I do agree with it. If you don't want to use your academy, then you should forfeit. I just kind of feel like there's a lot of positive, or seems to be more positive cases at the minute, and with the way certain footballers behaved over Christmas, I have less sympathy. If one of their children's come home from school, they've followed the rules and social distancing, I feel hard for them. But what we saw over the Christmas period, and since then, the volume of positive tests we're seeing, there clearly seems to be people bending and breaking rules. And, if Tottenham have an issue, and based on their players doing what they did, if they can't field a team, they should either have to play their kids or forfeit the match, which means a 3-0 loss, the other team gets the points. This delaying of games for me is what's wrong, because it's unfair on the team that's kept things in a good order, but it's going to create a bottleneck later on down the line, and we don't know who that's going to impact. We don't know who's going to be in the title race, who's going to go deep into Champions Leagues. You could end up in a situation where, and let's just say it's Chelsea. Let's just say you guys get yourselves, you're in a semi-final of the Champions League, but you've had 3 or 4 Premier League games cancelled because other clubs haven't had their house in order. You could have a situation where later on down the league where you've got to play 4 games in 6 days, and one of them's a Champions League semi-final. That just can't be fair on you and your season because of others. I think that's where they've got to really get a hold of this and put down some proper rules and protocols.
I'm looking at it from a different perspective. Imagine all the academy kids that would have never gotten a chance, that now are going to get a chance to show them their skills against these other grown men.
Exactly.
It's an opportunity for these youth players to put themselves at the front of the queue and be like, I'm good enough to play at this level. And that, for me, is a shining light in this whole situation.
And also, is there any difference to injuries? Is there any difference to injuries? Look how many injuries Liverpool have had this season. Like, when you think about it.
No, I get that. Sorry, go on, mate. Come on, carry on. Sorry, I was talking.
No, I was just saying, when you think about it, Liverpool have lost their best players pretty much in Van Dijk. He is their best player for me. If you have like 3 or 4 of your first team players out, like everybody said, you've got the under 23s, you've got the under 21s. It's not like you're short of players to play. You're not short. It's just it's another injury, if you like. They're out because they're not fit enough to play. That's why they're not playing.
No, I understand that, and I mean, there was a few Liverpool fans only a guy a few weeks ago, massive tweet. I think it had maybe 11,000 likes and about 5,000 retweets, which tells you it's caught hold of things and it's trending. Where he basically said, how is it fair that City have had game postponed because of COVID issues because they can't field a full team, but we've had 5 or 6 of our first team players out injured and we've had to play our matches. So I was sort of thinking, it's not quite the same thing. Van Dijk passing away isn't going to infect another squad. Do you know what I mean? And I say passing away because they did act like he died. Like, do you know what I mean? R.I.P.
And now they're really resurrected by February, fam. This is how mad it is.
Bruv, that's another PR stunt, bruv. That's how they stop thinking about not buying people this month. Oh, he could be back. You'll get to like March and they'll say, we shouldn't rush him. Really, that's what's going to happen there. But
yeah, he's no Roy Keane.
No, absolutely. I want to speak Man United for a minute. Then we're going to go on to Lampard. Then we're going to get on to talking about what's going on. If the viewers have any comments or any questions they want to get in, you can super chat in. We had a super chat already from the 4th official that says Martinez to Villa, best transfer hands down. That's cool, but they're not part of the top 6+1, so they're not featuring on our list. But thank you very much for the super chat. Any other questions? Get them in. I saw a lot of two things have triggered Man United fans today, and I wanted to get some opinions. I'd like you all to tell me what you think of this. First one was we're too sentimental because we're giving Igalo a place on the bench. Secondly, Ollie should be giving Amad Diallo more time and shouldn't be playing it down and talking about how he needs to be eased in slowly. That seems to have triggered the Ollie out to Bob mob. I'd love some thoughts on that.
Madness.
I mean, firstly on Igalo, for me, Igalo is not a Manchester United player off rip. Like, let's be real. This is Igalo.
Never is a Chelsea player. But anyway,
we'll get onto that. Because I'm not going to do a sparring war. Because when I get an opportunity to cuss Man United, you must let me have my time, please. About killing off my club. My club are in disarray, 100%. But when it comes to Igalo, I think we know he's not Man United standard. So I don't know what is there to be sympathetic about, or he's not a legend of the club. What is there to be? Why is there no cutting of ties to move on and just go and get yourself a proper player in January that can fill up that role if you haven't got enough strikers? When it comes to Ollie, when it comes to this kid, I haven't seen too much of him. I think he's probably being wise about the situation because you don't want to put a lot of pressure on a kid coming from abroad like that. 18 years old, and then suddenly say to yourself, right, he needs to be the guy. He needs to be the go-to guy. It sounds a bit too much. So I think the Ollie out brigade are pushing it a bit there. If you see how he's managed Greenwood as well, he does seem to want to take his time with the youngsters, not give them press conferences and interviews to speak and let them, not be too much in the limelight before they've actually done anything. So you look at the way Foden was managed at Manchester City. If he can be eased in like that with the quality that he has, then it makes sense for Ollie to try and ease in Diallo. So I think we're being a bit harsh on him for that, but yeah, Igalo shouldn't be in the team.
I agree with what's your name, bro? Sorry.
Matisse.
I agree with him 100% in terms of the Amad Diallo point. In terms of Igalo, I mean, he's been on the bench this season already. So any form of outrage for us playing a Championship Watford which may be his one and only appearance for us this season off the bench, where we want full rotation because we've had a game midweek, we've got Burnley midweek coming, and we've got Liverpool next week. It's forced. It's a forced anger, forced agenda that doesn't even really exist. We're not saying he's going to be starting on the last game of January before he flies back to China or whatever. It's a game where we're going to have full rotation, and he's our third choice number 9. Technically third choice number 9, and our first choice or second choice, depending where you want to put Cavani, is out suspended. So naturally he is the next in line if we are going to make full rotation. I don't think there's much of a story about it. I don't think it's anything to do with sentiment or anything like that. He's a Man United player and we got a squad to utilize. It's really as simple as that. And on top of that, he's good enough to play against Watford. Like, it's not like we're playing against bloody Barcelona. I wish we had Barcelona in the Champions League. We're not even in it in 2021. But it's Watford in the FA Cup third round. It's really a non-story, to be honest. I know you're bringing it up because people have made it something that it's really not. And anyone takes something
it's a story. That's it.
It's just forcing it.
The fact that it's Watford is the reason why.
That's it, KJ, because it's Watford, isn't it?
If this was freaking Bournemouth, who is a team just like Watford used to be in the Prem and got knocked down in the same season, they wouldn't be calling it sentimental. They would have called it, it's just rotation. Yes, you might do what Matisse said and question why is he there in the first place. It's January now, let's get rid of him. But we're contracted.
The point of it being sentimental is that you played for them. That's what
they're
saying.
A game against them. I'm saying that people need to just relax. We can't get rid of Igalo for now because the end of Jan, just wait. You know what I mean? He'll be gone. You know what I'm saying? He'll be gone. But the whole sentimental thing, if he wasn't on the bench, you'll be saying, how can he not rotate the team? How on earth is he supposed to manage the team if he doesn't know how to bring players in and out of the squad?
I think it's very true. For me, if Cavani wasn't banned, Igalo would probably not be involved at all. He's not going to be kept on. They're not going to extend his loan deal. And I don't think you need much more depth beneath him, really and truly. I would go to the academy if there was no Igalo in this same situation. I just think because there's no news at the minute, the transfer market is absolutely dead as a dodo. There's nothing going on already. The only real deals that have been spoken about, deals that have been worked on for a fair period of time now, and everything else. So all the deals that were sort of like the Diallo deal's the only real big one of note. Chelsea are not going for Rice. Liverpool have made it very clear they're not going for anybody big. Chelsea not going to do any other business. Arsenal, there's nothing going on of any real note right now. Sorry?
There is a lot going on, but it's nothing of note right now.
They're hoping they'll get rid of it.
That's exactly what I said. There's nothing sizable happening. Like the level of players you're linked with and generally talking to, not even Arsenal fans care about. And you know that by the level of views that the big Arsenal channels are getting for these stories they're doing. If it was Aouar's very close, trending. It's like some player no one's heard of, that meh. Like even the Diallo stuff. You go live with it and no one's really that interested because they know who he is. They already know about him. They know he's coming. It isn't the kind of grandstand news they want. So I think a lot's being made out of it.
I think the Diallo thing, the reason why some people, they almost look down at it because you guys got an under 23 kid. You bring him into under 23, easy him in, and the amount of money you spent on him, people feel like, sir, I've been listening to certain people on YouTube, they've been talking about how they feel like, oh, it could have been used elsewhere. Now, I want to know what you guys think about that.
No, not at all. Not at all. No. Here's the thing, right? With Diallo, right? He's a young kid who's come in, and Juventus were in for him as well. Juventus wanted him. He chose Man United. Let's get that straight first. He's coming. He's going to play in the under 23s. If he is ready, the coaching staff and Ollie feel he's good enough to get into the first team, he will be brought in like Mason Greenwood was brought in. He won't just be thrown in there. I still think we need a more experienced player who can play on the right wing, who will take that pressure, who is ready to go right now. Ollie wants two players for each position. That's and
I want to say this as well. So Mo here with a comment, and this is exactly what people are going to get me chatting finances live on the air again. And I'll try not to get angry about it. So 40 million for a guy that hasn't played more than 10 professional games. So two things on that. Firstly, total amount that can be possibly paid by Manchester United is 37 million. So you're out. Equally, it's 18 million pound as an initial payment, which, and you notice how this hasn't been spoken about by Sky at all. That's 18 million pound that's being spread over the 4.5 year term of his first contract. So if anybody wants to divide 18 million by 4.5, do the math. That's how much we're paying for him on a yearly basis. The remaining amount of the 37 million is subject to add-ons, and a lot of that is to do with a number. So he has to get over 100 first-team appearances for Man United for a certain amount to go out, over 50 goals for Man United for the next level of money to go out, and we need to win the Premier League inside his first 3 years and him achieve those other two goals before it's paid. So if he flops and he's awful, it's cost us 18 million quid, of which we won't even be paying all of it up front. If we sell him 2.5 years in, you'll get some money back for him and it'll equal itself out. So it's not, that's the point. It isn't 40 million pound cash we're giving right now for a first team player. It's a longer term investment.
But on top of that, Terry, if we pay 40 million, it means it's a good investment because he would have triggered all the clauses that actually total up to 40. It's like the Bruno Fernandes. Every so often, there's a little report. Man United have to pay Sporting 7 million. Yeah, that's because he scored X amount of goals or got X amount of assists or played X amount of games. So every time we pay that, and I tweet it out every time, and the responses are bargain. It's a bargain. You pay extra 5 million.
And on top of that, sorry, just the finalist point. When Liverpool signed Jota, brilliant signings, could do very well on our ranking list very soon. When they signed him and Thiago, do you remember how much the media pushed this? It was like they'd just discovered fire, or the wheel was invented, or flight. Do you know what I mean? I thought they were going to bring out corpses of the Wright brothers, and celebrate it like a groundbreaking discovery that Liverpool was spreading the cost of transfers over the length of the contracts. And I'm thinking, this has been going on since the beginning. But yet you highlighted for them. With Man United signing, all I've seen everywhere is Man United sign Starlet for 37 million. I'm like, see, it's had a not. I mean, I'm surprised they haven't added the agent fees and the wages into that amount yet as well. But there we go.
The funny thing about this whole thing as well is that if we didn't get him and he went somewhere else like a Juve or like a Dortmund or somewhere else and he kills it, United fans will be pissed at Ollie for not signing him.
Exactly.
You're missing out on talent. You've got no eye for talent. Like, this is what I mean. Like, we can't even win. It is what it is. Rival fans will have their say, and people with their agendas will have their say. But be happy that we've got this kid.
Of course. Twisted Bubba here says it's 40 million. However you play it. Well, it's 37 million. If I'm gonna be sort of pedantic about it, but it isn't whatever way you play it. If he turns out to be a very good player, and it's 40 mil, and no one's gonna care. If he turns out to be a flop, he's cost us £1 million more than Dan James. So everybody said about Dan James when we signed him, good signing in the sense that there's no risk at 17, 18 million pound for a young player. There we go. I want to speak Chelsea before we go into the ranking elements here. Maybe a bit of a nice break, a bit of a circuit breaker for yourselves from the Premier League and everything else that's going on. How does the land lie currently with Chelsea supporters? You're looking at this weekend. It's a must win because to not beat Morecambe in the FA Cup is going to be. Do you reckon that could kill his job? I mean, where are you guys at with the whole Chelsea scenario right now,
bro? He is like walking the plank as we speak. Like after the Manchester City defeat, a Athletic report came out literally 30 seconds afterwards saying he's under pressure. So they had the article written during the game and ready to put out because they obviously just expected us to lose or something. The fact that, for me, Morecambe is not even a debate. Like, if we don't win that, then my God, that's our only realistic shot at a trophy. So I think that he'll just be on the chopping board anyway. But again, Fulham, even after that, he has to win. He is going game by game, in my opinion, to the point where, like, Chelsea have, I think their expectations are realistic. I've always said if he doesn't get top 4, that would be a sackable offence. Obviously, there's loads of variables in the league. We know, there's tight, fixture congestion. And for an inexperienced manager like himself, to deal with these issues is going to be 10 times harder than a Klopp or a Pep. So they're struggling. They're having shock results. There's no surprise that Frank Lampard, who's only got 1 year's experience before he came to Chelsea, is having an even tougher time dealing with it. However, there still has to be a fundamental and there has to be a minimum expectation at the football club, which is, for me, top 4. You can't be falling below where you finished last season with a better team. So this Morecambe game is not even a thing. He has to win this game. Like that should be up for discussion. It's League 2.
You're saying it like you man are gonna lose to Morecambe, but you guys ain't losing to Morecambe.
I'm just saying.
Can I speak?
Chelsea fans right now, yeah, I am sick of their whining.
Can I speak?
Whinging. I'm sick of it. They're acting like they're one of the worst round clubs in the country, that they've got one of the most dead squads in the league. And Frank Lampard's one of the worst managers to ever grace the Premier League. His squad is good, and your club is winning round. I don't want to see you guys start whining again, fam.
Your guys are going to win this game.
You're beating for
the Man United.
You guys relax. One win is all you need, and you guys are back in the race. You're telling me that Arsenal, who were like down in the pits.
What race? Race for what?
Race for top 4, whatever you want to call it. Listen, Arsenal were down in the pits, yeah? They're down in the pits. They went and want to win 3 games, and now they're in the mix for final game.
AJ, this is a Chelsea question, bro.
You cannot compare Chelsea fans' expectations.
You're telling me that Chelsea cannot win at least 3 games.
Hold on.
Chelsea fans' expectations is not the same level as Arsenal.
Hold on, Matisse. Listen, if I'm being honest with you, Morecambe should be an easy win in it. Like, Chelsea should win that game. I don't have no doubt. It doesn't matter who they use. Even if we use our academy, I believe they would beat Morecambe in it, because then what are they? League 2? They're League 2, right? Like, come on. I don't think necessarily Lampard's job is predicated on this FA Cup. I think his job is predicated more on how further away it looks as that he can get top 4. So when it's starting to look like top 4 is in danger, that's when Frank Lampard will probably end up being sacked. Do you know what I mean? So I think for now he's good.
But do you know what?
I hear you, Monster. But if he loses to Morecambe, which is that in itself,
I still think he keeps his job.
It's a sackable offense.
Yeah, but you never know. You never quite know. That what I would say to all Chelsea fans, I'd be realistic, is you never know with Roman. You never quite know what's going on in the man's head. But this is what I love about this round of the FA Cup, these opening couple of rounds, is most of the ties this weekend for all the big 6 plus Arsenal are like more than formality. That's what makes it scary, because this is what the FA Cup is famous for, and it's maybe just my affinity and love for the FA Cup has always stemmed around the giant killing. I always remember they didn't beat them, but one of my favorite memories from the FA Cup was I can't remember the first part of their name. Waterlooville is the second part of the name.
Waterloo, yeah.
When they were 2-0 up at Anfield and they panned to the stadium, and there was a kid, maybe 15, 16 in the crowd crying his eyes out because they were 2-0 up at Anfield. If that doesn't make you love football, I don't think you're watching the right sport. That's what's always been beautiful about it. And now there's a bigger gulf between the teams. I love seeing a Man United go to a team where there's literal holes in the ground or where there's a mud patch where the ball stops. Like for me,
Exeter.
Yeah. Like, I love all this sort of stuff, and that's what I love about this sort of stage of the competition. And will Lampard get sacked if he doesn't beat Morecambe? Maybe not, but it's one of those extra things because the fans play a part in this. The fans play a massive part, and I think it'll be one more kind of nail in the coffin from a sort of fan point of view in relation to that. But I'm sure you'll get yourselves through this sort of problem and turmoil. When
it comes to Chelsea Football Club, we know that when the ball starts rolling and they start looking for another manager, it's just the time's ticking for that manager in the seat right there. So if it's true that they've already started contacting Thomas Tuchel and they're contacting other managers around world football, to me that means that Lampard, they know he's on borrowed time. He knows that he's not going to be managing much longer at Chelsea if that ball has been rolling. And from reports, from what I've been reading and what I've been listening to recently, they've said that phone call has been made and people on the board are already looking for another manager at Chelsea. So if that's true,
if Lampard doesn't get top 4, no one can tell me Lampard deserves to stay in a job because you can't win. You can't be in top 4 last season with worse players, and then you get better players this season, and you don't secure top 4. Like people keep saying it's a process. A process has checkpoints. Asking for top 4 this season is not too much of an ask. That is not a huge ask. Asking for the Premier League for him this season, that's a huge ask. You can't tell me that's when I hear Chelsea fans
you guys
say
spent 200 million.
Wait, when Chelsea fans say it's too much to ask Lampard for a top 4, what is that?
You see, Monster, that's fair. I have no issue with Chelsea fans talking about that. But I'm hearing Chelsea fans talking like they're not even going to get top 6. That you guys are going to finish outside of 7th and 8th and stuff. Stop.
The league is very tight, so you don't know.
Volatile right now.
The league is very tight. So, like you said, you're 3 points away. I looked at the league maybe last week. 7 points between 4th and 14th or something mad like that. You are a few points from making it, but you're also a few points from getting shafted and finishing in a mad position that at the start of the season you would never have even comprehended. And when you say about Chelsea, there's no chance they can lose to Morecambe. Of course, I'm confident we can beat Morecambe, but I still remember fresh in my brain, and Chelsea fans in the chat will remember as well. We lost to Bradford in the FA Cup at home, and like years ago, and they knocked us out. When your team is done out with confidence, anything can happen.
It's a perfect game for Timo.
Hold on, Matisse, we were during those times, it wasn't as bad because we were still title and Champions League contenders, innit? So even though it's a bit embarrassing, we knew that we still have a chance to win a Premier League or a Champions League during those times. So it didn't really matter. This time around, it's a bit different because the space in which we're in is quite bad.
But that's Monster. You're right, but that's why I say losing to Morecambe. It's another nail in the coffin of Frank. It may not be the final straw, but it's just another thing on top. As I say, if you were top of the league now by 5 points and you went out, it's like Man United. I know some fans went for Ollie's neck midweek when we went out of the League Cup, but being joint top and highly likely to go 3 points clear at the top by the middle of next week, you have to put things into perspective. But if we were sitting 8th right now and then went out of the semi-final, then I think there'd be even more carnage. Matisse, from your point of view, just so we know everybody else's stance, where do you sit on the sort of Lampard in, Lampard out conversation?
I still have patience for him because, one, I don't have a contingency plan for after him. The only manager that I would have taken would have been Pochettino. Like off rip, I would have taken him off the bat, 100%, get him in now because he's got Premier League experience. He's got experience with great transfer dealings. He's got experience developing players, whether it's youth players or established players. And he took Southampton and Tottenham up levels, not even just one level, levels above what they came from with limited budgets. So, and we don't have a problem with a budget as everybody can plainly see. Apart from that, there's no manager out there right now that I am 100% like, yeah, he's going to fix all our problems because I don't think it's just a managerial issue. I have time for Frank because I do believe that he can turn it around still, even though he's been dreadful in the last run of games. And I'm hoping that it's just a short run and not a long-term, issue. I've seen Arteta, I've seen Oli manage to resurrect their careers at the clubs that they're at the moment. They've managed to get themselves ticking again. And listen, I'm not saying Frank Lampard is now going to, change his whole status at Chelsea and go on to win a Premier League and a Champions League. But it would be nice if he could turn it around, get us into top 4, hopefully win an FA Cup. And then for me, if there hasn't been enough progression on the pitch and in terms of players getting better, like your Timos, your Havertz, showing that you can utilise these players properly, then it would be nice that they just part ways, shake hands, amicably, and move on and bring in a top experienced manager at the end of the season. Because I said before Lampard came in that I didn't think he had the experience to take on the job. There's no other manager at his age that leads Derby to the playoffs but doesn't get promoted that gets the Chelsea job off rip. It was all about status. It was all about pull power. It was all about culture. And it was not about managerial ability. And we're seeing now, as I said earlier, a manager with less experience is finding it even tougher to get through this time, which is a tricky season. It's it's unprecedented, but they're finding it trickier than your experienced managers, your Klopps, your Peps, your Mourinho's, etc. So I've got time for him, but he's running out of time, 100%.
Mate, I hear that. Thank you for that answer. Welcome, Neat. So I'm going to get Bits and Bobs and Indiana back on in a minute. Their internet seems to be wild today. They're there and then they're gone again. We're going to move on to. We're gonna, yeah. And by the way, KJ, I sent you a message. Your microphone weren't connected when you were talking.
Yeah, it is now, baby. You know what I'm saying?
You were echoey before, and I was like, you normally sounds better than that. We're gonna now go to the rankings. I mean, I'm intrigued, but I'm intrigued by this. I've added everybody back in now to this. I think the easiest thing to start with, viewers, you can start getting your super chats in now to where you want to move people to, etc., etc., etc. Should we place Leicester's first, or should we move some big names that shouldn't be where they are? What do you guys want to do?
Question: did you put them here? Is this where they were last time?
This is where they were left last time round. So this
let's move some people around so we get some actual context to where people should be, and then put the Leicester season.
There you go.
KJ, I'm going to come to you first. We're going to get a pick each and be able to move someone where you want to put them. We're going to get one each. KJ, who's the person you want to move and where do you want to put them?
Yo, Nathan Ake, the man, when he got put in killing it, I was vexed because he was a foolish man. Was out there conceding 5 goals and get put in killing it. Nah, fam, he's been dead, man. Whack him in dead. What? You don't even play for them, bruv.
Wait, so if they don't play, do they stay in dead?
Yes, because how can they prove to us that they're any better, bruv?
Yeah, if they're not playing, if they've been signed this season to play and they're not playing, then clearly they ain't been good enough, innit?
Okay.
Absolutely. Anita, you're next. Who's your pick and where you're moving them to?
Where's Ruben Diaz? Is he in Port start?
Average start there.
Average start. I'm gonna. I can't really say good start anymore because he's not just started. But I want to move him up one. Maybe we can change what good start is or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So
actually, do you know what? I'm gonna put him in killing it. Actually, I'm gonna put him in killing it. And I know it's a stretch, but I really think that he hasn't filled the company void. Don't get me wrong, but since he's come in and since he's actually settled in with John Stones at the back, he makes John Stones look a lot better, by the way. I'm going to say that for a fact. And I just feel like he's come in, taken on big shoes, and Laporte isn't even missed anymore. So I'm a keeping and killing it.
That's actually true.
Yeah. Do you know what's interesting as well? You know what you said about Ake went out first. So Ake is now behind everybody in that order, and he was bought in for like 40. It just shows how much resource Chelsea. That's why I never saw Chelsea City. It's why I never have any sympathy when they moan about problems with their squad, because they have resource to buy a 4th choice centre back for 40 million quid, who wasn't bought to be a first team player. He was bought to be backup at 40 mil. And for a lot of our clubs, he'd have got into our first team last year. So I think that's fair. Next, we're going to go to Monster. Monster, who's your pick and who you're moving and where you're putting them?
I'm going to move Diogo Jota and put him in dead. Because we said if you're not playing, you go in dead. If you're not playing, what did we say? We said if you're not playing, you go in dead. AJ, I specifically asked the question. I said, if you're not playing, do you go in dead? And what did you say?
Yeah, but the thing is, you're making it sound like if you miss 2 games, that's it, you're out. He's played half the He's played half the games. He's played half the games in these 2 months that we're talking about. So he's done enough to show that he's done something. Nathan Ake He's played the hell of games at all. That's
Yeah,
a
if you haven't
different
played
thing,
any
bro.
games, I think if you've played games, it showed yourself, and then you got injured. That's fair. You should stay where you are.
I asked the question.
One
Nah,
man.
Yeah, but you've just taken it and it exploded. Like you just over-exaggerated.
Let's do it one at a time.
Let me just answer this. We said basically we're predicating this off since we last did the ranking till now, right?
No,
Yeah.
Last in the ranking till now.
no.
No.
We're reassessing.
The whole season. It's the
reassessing,
You man are changing the goalposts.
You made your own goal.
Bro, you made your own goalpost, fam. What are you doing?
I put Thiago Jota back, man. Let me be fair in it. I'm gonna put Werner in dead. I have to be honest.
Wow.
Werner to dead.
It hurts me to say that, but he hasn't been playing well.
I would say poor, but not.
I would have said poor, innit?
Yeah, I would have said poor.
Yeah,
as
he's
well.
scored it like a
I expect more from him. I expect more from him.
He kicked a corner flag, you know. Come on.
He's-
Come on.
I know.
We're gonna move on. We're going to bits and bobs is next. Who's your pick and where you putting them, bro?
I'm gonna take Mr. Tickle, Mendy, and I'm gonna put him in because he's a brother. No, I'll put him in poor. I think he's in poor. I gotta put him in poor, man. I just think
how everyone and that Mendy when Mendy to me has done what he's needed to do. I don't think he's necessarily been
You can't speak. You put
how
Jota
many
in
of
there.
Chelsea's goals has he been culpable for? Some people will bring up Saka's goal, but Saka's goal was a cross, and he didn't even mean that.
Two, the
What
penalty.
about
for me-
Everton and Foden. I'll say those
for
two.
me, yeah.
Matisse, what do you think? What do you think, Matisse, when it comes to Mendy?
Oh, I would have kept him in average, and I would have had Werner poor. So I think there's no way Mendy's been anywhere near Werner in terms of output. I mean, this is a guy that had a couple of weeks ago he was challenging for like top clean sheets, and now he's had a little bit of a rough form. I would have kept him in average overall for the whole season. Definitely, I would have kept him in average.
Wow,
bit of harsh bits?
So bits and bobs. What's your rationale for putting him into poor?
I just think like everyone, like obviously I don't really give a shit for Chelsea, but I just think that Mr. Tickle has just not done anything. I'm not convinced to say that he's going to be Chelsea's number one for the next 10 years. I mean, some of the things with times he comes out, I'm like, bro, you're like 6 foot plus. Like, how are you not even dominating? I just think he's not convinced me, to be honest. And Kepa, he's probably a slight upgrade, but so is everyone here in this panel. So yeah, man, I think he's been poor personally.
Kepa's an upgrade.
No. He said Mendy's an upgrade on Kepa because Kepa's
slight upgrade.
Yeah.
I think everyone here,
upgrade.
if everyone got a pair of gloves, we'd be an upgrade on Kepa. So do you know what I mean? I've got to keep the same energy. I just think he's been poor, man.
That's true. I mean, Super Chat here says, are Spurs a dark horse? Yeah. I think when you've got Jose Mourinho as your manager and he's happy, you're always there or thereabouts because that guy. I know. Look at Igal's face. Look at the little gooner there. Look at him. Oh no, they're not dark horses. They are, bruv. Trust me.
They're imposters, as I said.
Listen,
Imposters.
imposters. We'll get him onto that later. Next up, making their pick is gonna be Matisse. Which player are you picking and where are you moving them to? But you can't pick someone somebody else has touched.
Okay. Jesus Christ, there's some mad names on here. You can't add names or nothing, no?
These are all the summer signings for the top 6 clubs. So
He's trying to get Mason Mount in here or something, yeah?
No. I don't know why people think I'm a big fan of Mason Mount. It's not even that deep for me.
and he's not a bad player. Let the guy live, man.
He's high.
Is that Mason Mount in killing it?
No, it's in summer signings only. New signings.
I beg you, wipe your glasses. What?
I was confused for a second. Who is that? Who is that next to Silva? I'm mad. Black.
that is Ziyech. I mean, I don't quite know how Ziyech got into killing it, but
He was killing it.
Ziyech can go down to playing well. Ziyech can go down to playing well.
Playing well. Ziyech can get down to playing well. Neeks, you're up next, bro.
I'm going El Matador.
Come on now.
Listen, I mean, I'm not sure why he got dead at the time. Listen,
He didn't play.
Yeah, I think that could be the only thing. Listen, if he didn't have COVID at the start and he's not banned now, he probably will be signed in the season, isn't it? Because that's a free transfer. We didn't pay a penny for him. But I would say is it just Premier League we're judging on or all
Premier League,
everything. No, it's everything. It's everything.
What?
Yeah, it's everything.
They're
They're everything.
I'm
That
gonna.
wasn't the precedent in the first time we did it.
You know what? I could even average or playing well. I'm gonna say playing well.
Yeah,
because I think the impact. I think the impact he's had has resulted in why we are where we are at the moment. The key goals, coming off the bench against Everton in the Premier League, starting and the goal he scored against Everton in the Cup. The late winner against Southampton as well. I think it's been a bit of a stop-start season for the things that I've mentioned. But whenever he's played, I mean, people are saying he should be starting for Man United, and nobody expected that at the start. So I would say playing well.
I think that's fair to be honest with you. I think he's done well when coming on. Igal's up next. Who you picking and where are you putting them?
I told you guys this guy was dead when we last did this. You guys told me no, we have to push him up, and somehow he ended up in average. I'm taking Van de Beek. I'm putting him where he belongs, back in dead.
What?
Fair enough.
Bro, he hasn't played a game. You said the same thing at the beginning of the season.
You're right. You're right.
No, it's funny. At the start of the season,
go for Gabriel, bro.
All right, listen. At the start of the season, yeah, he played some games and showed quality. Now, from that point now, for the entire season, he's played hard in the game, so it's fair. No one's. Yeah, you're trying to battle people. No one's upset, bro. It's true.
No, I'm not trying to rattle nobody. I was just saying my point. Saying my piece.
Games, and I said Jota was dead. You man said
Jota played games, bro.
That's nonsensical.
To go from killing it to dead. I mean, if you just said put him into average from there, I think we would have all maybe agreed with you to some extent. I'm doing my pick now. It's hard because I want to move Gabriel down. I want to move Chilwell down. I want to move Jota down. Bale signing has been absolutely ridiculous. I feel actually anybody that attacked Real Madrid last season for keeping him on the bench and not playing him needs to make a written apology, a video apology, everything. Honestly, the devil. But I am going to pick Ziyech and put him into dead because
that's Havertz, bro.
Havertz, sorry, that's who I meant. Havertz.
Oh my god!
Because he's just. I think he's going to come good. Same as I think Donny's going to come good. I think Werner's going to come good as an example. I think Partey. Have you noticed, by the way, that Igal got so much hate for Man United that he left his favourite player in the world, Partey, that he says better than Kimmich?
Because he knows true.
Like, he knows. But for me, Kai Havertz moves into that area. The expectation, the amount of money that he was purchased for, and the fact that he's losing his place in the team to players that are nowhere near his ability, I'd have to put him in dead. So far this season, rather than lifting it. Oh, do you know what though? Am I doing Tellers dirty? You got to take Tellers out of dead.
No, you can't. Let's be honest. Tellers has been all right, but Luke Shaw's still first choice left back, so he has to stay in dead. Sorry,
yeah, Terry. I don't think Anita went either for a pick. Did you go, Anita?
She did.
Went earlier. Oh, we can't hear you.
You're muted.
You've done something. You've done a little something. Sorry.
Yeah. Who did you pick, Anita?
I chose Diaz. I did a whole.
You did.
Diaz got moved. So I want the viewers. You can get your super chats in to move people up and down in whatever direction you want. You know the score. We're going to place the two Leicester signings, and then we're going to move on to sort of debating any other little moves you want to do. Signing of the season. So when it comes to Leicester, Fofana, where
he's playing well. Definitely.
Nah, killing it, man. Killing it.
Why killing? No, I think he's playing brilliant, man. I think he's been a great.
The reason why I say killing it, for a young man straight out of France to come in and start playing first team football in the Premier League to help them secure the spot where they are, which is currently fourth right now in this tight Premier League season. You have got nothing to do with commending because he's been one of the rocks at the back for them this season.
Listen, I'm not here to send shots at Arsenal. No, that's not true. I am. But there was two men that came from St. Etienne, Fofana and Saliba. One's got sent back. Get out of there. Get out of there. The other one's top 4 in the Premier League. And I think it just shows that, Leicester's scouting network, as Alex speaks about in the group chat, their scouting is spot on because last year we were talking about Soyuncu, better than Fire, best centre back since bloody Rio Ferdinand. And Fofana's come in and it's like they're not even missing him. Like Fofana's a baller. For his age, he's a baller.
Yeah, Bips, why would you say not though? Because you was a bit.
I just think like he is playing really well. I just thought like he's been brilliant, like you did say. However, unfortunately, I don't think he's getting all the headlines that he should, and I think there's a reason for that. So I think playing well, he's playing really well. I don't think he should be gassed too much, but right now he's playing really well. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, but if he's the headlines though, the headlines is because he plays for Leicester City.
But Jamie Vardy scores goals and still gets the headlines for Leicester City.
Yeah, but because Jamie Vardy's been here for a long time and he's doing it consistently at an age that you would think you shouldn't be doing it anymore. Fofana is a young buck. The British press barely know who he is.
So how many of you on the panel want him in killing it, and how many want him in playing well? So just
I'm putting him lower. I'm putting him lower simply because we've seen consistently. You have Maguire playing well at Leicester. Next you have Soyuncu playing well at Leicester. Then you have Fofana playing well in Leicester. The one consistent thing is their partner, and that's why they're all playing so well. So I would say he's playing well.
As a Johnny Evans.
Yeah.
Basically Johnny Evans.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see what if the viewers want to change it round. Next, their new. I thought it was a left back. We played a right back. Castagna. He's been everywhere. For me, I would put him in playing well also.
Yeah, that's only fair. If you put in one of his partners in the defense and playing well, then he has to go and playing well too. And plus, he's also been injured. He's missed games as well. So, like.
I think that's. I mean, they do have a good scouting network, Leicester. That's one thing I rate them with massively. The quality of signings they seem to keep being able to make, but equally, I don't think there's the expectation, is there? You look at you look at so many of them players that are in dead, barring Willian. Every single one of those signings for our respective clubs in dead, and even most of the individuals that are in poor. There was a fairly big expectation for, maybe not for Antonio. I mean, Torres should probably move out of poor, to be fair. I think
why though? In the Prem, he's been.
I think there is William.
I think across all comps, he's been pretty good. But you had Stroh here put a super chat in. Stroh's a Liverpool fan. He wants Thiago in dead. Not his fault. But yeah, so like Thiago's been an absolute. I mean, I know he got injured by a tackle, but he hasn't played. Havertz has been just. I get that he's young and he's got time to come good, but what really strikes me, I love. Obviously, I've had everybody else's opinion on this from Chelsea point of view. Matisse, from your sort of angle, are you surprised? Barring the League Cup game where he got a hat trick, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here. I don't really remember a moment where I've gone, "Whoa, look at that!" Like he's been just so average nearly every game he's played. I mean, what do you think the best remedy to get the best out of Kai Havertz?
Yeah, he hasn't had any real shining moments, if I'm being honest. But again, I think it's partly to the point where he is clearly still adapting, and I've seen, for me, I always give new players, especially that young as well. I always give them a season because for me, as a modern day midfielder, he's got everything that you could ask for in terms of, he's got the vision, he's got the goal threat, he's got skill, but his work rate's not bad as well. I think we do need to utilize him better. I've seen his average position in a lot of our games, and it is quite deep. Before he got dropped for Kovacic, I think he needs to be moved higher up the pitch. I think he's a player that scored a lot of goals at Leverkusen in the second half of last season. He even played false 9, played 10 sometimes, right wing. He's a final third player. So for me, the fact that he's so deep and involved in so much build-up when really he should be in the box. If this is a team that crosses more than anyone in the Premier League, if we're crossing the box, it should be Giroud and Havertz in the box. Numbers, you need numbers in the box to score goals. And Havertz, I never see him in the box. So I partly blame Frank Lampard. And then I also partly say the player's still adapted and he also needs to do the basics better, but he's not in the box. And that's what he is. He's a player.
He's got a hat-trick against Barnsley, though.
Terry, can I just say on Havertz, as we've all said, and you've said as well, and we all know this, is that when it comes to these young players, 21, let's say 23, 24 and under, aren't you expect at times, someone that knows football, you expect these patches to happen. So why are we surprised that this patch is happening?
The whole season's been a patch.
But that isn't my concern. I just take, as a Man United fan, I have zero concern for how bad he started. I think it's great. There hasn't, as Matisse said, the moments. With like Mason Greenwood this season's had a much poorer start to the campaign than I thought he would. And we all know he's had stuff going on outside the game with one of his friends and he's young. But he still had moments, even in the game against Leipzig that we lost and went out the champ. There were some touches and turns and movement where you were like, wow, you see it there. I've just seen nothing from Kai Havertz, which worries me. Interestingly, though, I remember getting
there was a moment against Sevilla. There was a moment against, I don't want to say West Brom because people are going to say, oh, it's West Brom. But
Okay, so, but again, I'm talking about standout moments that I saw Chelsea fans getting overtly excited about. They just don't really seem to have happened, or at least with the frequency where we've all seen it, brother. Like we're talking Loch Ness monster sightings here. Like it needs to be more frequent, in my view. But we know he's got the talent. Equally, I remember getting shouted down by Chelsea fans in the summer when they were saying he can play as an 8, he can play deeper. I was like, I just don't really see much evidence of that. You know, where he's played for his club and country, he doesn't do that. So why people trying to force this issue? We've got a few super chats we've got to do. First one says, 1 second, bro. First one says, Chelsea fans need to realize that he always had a terrible first half of the season for the past 3 years. The second half of the season, he comes out balling. So I hope to see that trend continue. Obviously, talking about Kai Havertz. We had some movements with the super chats on some of these players as well. I'm going to go back and find them now. The first one here says Tevez to average here. Mike, I have to respect people that started these super chats. So Stroh's part of the panel, so we can do it. But it's £5 or more to move a player. I can't disrespect the people that started this, but thank you very much for the donation. £3 more needed on that. We had one that I've missed putting up on the screen. This is from Ogpa, who says Thiago Alcantara to signing of the season. So you know the rules. You can't jump up multiple places, but I will move him up one for your £5 donation because those be the rules. Mansour Ahmed with a super chat here says, I can't see anyone standing out as the signing of the season. It's been okay, average and poor. But Gabriel to average started well, but poor in the last few games. So Gabriel has been moved down to average. That's going to trigger it. I can always see a gal moving in his seat. He's like, rah. He ain't having it from the Manum. The Manum are after him. Andrew here says last season, Havertz got 4 goals and assists in the first half of the season. The second half, 27. He has similar stats in his previous year to be prepared. I've seen this from a lot of Chelsea fans recently. So maybe we will see that kick up. Josh here says Sly Havertz had us all thinking he was a baller in the Bundesliga. That was a Messi Lingard purple patch. He's actually
Josh, I respect you, but allow it, bro. Allow it, fam. Let him have time. I genuinely believe Werner and see you later, bits. Werner and Havertz will find their feet at Chelsea, and when they do, we ain't gonna be making finding Timo.
I'm gonna be honest. With the Werner one, I have less faith than Havertz, and I'm not saying Werner's not a good player, but look at Chelsea, and maybe it's just a coincidence. But look at Chelsea's number 9 since Roman. How many of them have actually been a success?
But you would say the same thing about Didier Drogba when he came as well.
Drogba, Anelka, and Diego Costa. Everyone else, to my mind, every other signing has flopped. Now,
Drogba had this same very similar kind of form Werner's having at Chelsea.
No, goal scoring form, but not level of performance. He was a main man in Jose's first 2 years, regardless of how many goals he scored, because of the way they played. Lampard was getting 10, 15 goals a season because of the Drogba effect. Werner is not scoring and he's not impacting the game even in the same way. So goal scoring was never Drogba's main asset. He had 2 seasons, I think, where he banged over 20 odd goals in the league. Other than that, he was a facilitator, but
he had 2 golden boots.
Yeah, but do you know what's interesting? Yeah, but do you know what's interesting? Do you know?
All the years, 20 plus goals in 2 years.
Do you know what's interesting about it when you look at the listing here? And I know it's us. Sorry, what was that, Matisse?
Yeah, Drogba's hit rate wouldn't be up there with the best strikers in the Premier League of all time. Like, I think we can accept that. He wasn't just a goal scorer out and out. He had 2 great seasons, but if he's more of a big game player than comparison to someone who was hitting goals 20, 30
that's because Chelsea tried so hard to facilitate Frank Lampard and get Lampard the goals.
Exactly.
If you needed Drogba to score goals, he will do that for you. That's why I think he's very disrespected.
Yeah, I actually think Drogba gets a lot of respect from most rival. Like I certainly was as a United player. If he was missing for a United game, I was happy because he could always pop up with a goal. He was always a problem when it comes to the opposition box, and he was a good football player. But when you look at this list, law of averages tells you every season there are star strikers and star players that are signed that flop. I mean, if we go back a few years ago, Lacazette, Lukaku, Morata was the big sort of 3-way argument between Arsenal, Man United, and Chelsea fans. They all ended up flopping. You only have to go back a couple of years ago. You had Fred, Fabinho, and Jorginho. Only really one of them, I would say, cast iron, absolute standout hit. Fred's really come good in the last year. Most Chelsea fans you speak to couldn't care less if Jorginho left tomorrow. If you announced you were selling him tomorrow for 40 million to any other club in the world, barring probably Tottenham or Arsenal, you guys probably wouldn't be bothered. So this is what happens, and I think all the Chelsea signings, when you sign 7 players in one summer, law of averages tells you, even with the best managers, some of those players are going to be absolute flops, and sometimes your star players. I think Kai Havertz is going to come good. There is a part of me that's starting to get worried about Timo Werner, though. Just, I don't know. You get a little gut feeling that there's just something about the player that might not work, might not click, but we can always be wrong. Super Chat here says, why is Højbjerg average? No one's touched on it yet. We're going to get onto the signing of the season so far. Maybe he's going to get moved. But in terms of when we look at these players on here, we've mentioned Werner, we've mentioned Kai Havertz, etc. Are there any others that are sort of in low positions that you didn't expect them to be? You expected their performances to maybe be a little bit higher, and then for them to have bigger and better impacts in the Premier League.
Gareth Bale, man, disappointment. Disappointment, bro.
Thiago.
Why? Go KJ first. Why though? I want to expand on this.
Yeah, it's just like when he came back, everyone was giving up the gas, how high gas, getting Bale back into the Prem, and I thought, the man's been treated in a way that he didn't like in Real Madrid. He's coming back home to a team that he played for and he loves. I thought I'd see more fight from him. I thought I'd see a bit more quality from him, and he's just been stiff. Like that's the word. That's the only word I can really say about him. He's stiff. And it's been a massive disappointment for not just Spurs fans, but Premier League fans in general. It's Gareth Bale coming back home, fam. Like, I expected more, and I wanted more. And this whole chat of Spurs at the best front 3 in the Prem can stop now because they don't have a third guy. It's the best.
Do you know what I would say to it? And I'm not throwing Hudson-Odoi into this mix here for a reason. I'm just saying, most of the time when a player isn't getting into a starting lineup or into a team, most of the time, there's a legitimate... Like, I don't think managers go around bullying people. Like, I think they pick people for legitimate reasons or drop them. Remember when Jose didn't want to play Bastian Schweinsteiger? The world was calling him a bully in the printed press. He's a bully. He's bullied him out the squad. It's disrespectful. This is Bastian Schweinsteiger. Where did he go afterwards? And what did he even do in America? Not very much for a player. He was finished, and Jose Mourinho came in and saw that. Sometimes it's a young player. Why is no one playing him? Why is no one buying him? Zaha, why has no one bought him? Look at the player. Don't look at all the other managers around the world. Same here when it comes to Gareth Bale. There's a reason that Real Madrid weren't playing him, and we all just kind of looked over it as though they must be just treating him badly because he's Welsh or because he's not Spanish. I don't know what the reason. Do you get where I'm coming from? We always seem to want to. There has to be some deep, dark, horrible reason as to why a player's been frozen out. It could just be the player doesn't have the right attitude, isn't good enough, doesn't follow instructions. Or in Gareth Bale's example, he ain't got any hips, bruv. Like there's no hip movement. He's like a robot walking around the football pitch. It's like he's got like metal hips now. He's done. Like, I feel sorry for him. Monster, you mentioned Thiago Alcantara. I mean, what do you think the issue with him has been, barring injury?
That is what it all boils down to, injury, innit? Which is a shame. Obviously, I think we all said beforehand that he is an injury-prone player. When you look at his game time, whether at Barcelona, whether at Bayern Munich, the guy is always injured. Like, Barcelona would have never gotten rid of this guy if he wasn't injury-prone. Remember, this guy was meant to replace Xavi Hernandez. Never happened because he was always injured. And even though, it was Richarlison that took him out, but still, that's an injury at the end of the day, innit? So it is a shame. We don't know how great he is, but the guy's just always injured, man. You know what I mean?
The challenge from Liverpool fans is that it was an impact injury.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Arsenal fans saying that for 7 years about Jack Wilshere, that they were always impact injuries. But for me, it doesn't really matter how you get injuries. Like, man's just always, he is made of biscuits. And I think when you've got a player that breaks down that much, it's always a risky signing, even at 20 million plus the massive salary that he's earning. I honestly feel Man United got a player like it. Bailly. Most of Bay's injuries happen because he goes into stupid tackles and he does things that he doesn't need to do on the football pitch. Rafael da Silva at Man United, same problem. It was always things they didn't need to be doing, but that's part of your makeup as a player. And I do worry for Liverpool fans that he's going to spend a lot more of this season being out.
Like
In
a
terms of
4-year-old.
Let's answer a question. We've
Yeah,
got
go
Thiago Silva. I know Monster gassed him up at the beginning of the season. He may carry the same views. I don't know.
He's not been,
One second. Let me ask the question.
All right, go on.
Jesus Christ. He may carry the same views. I don't know. How do you judge him, especially over this last, say, month and a half where Chelsea's form has deteriorated? Are you still saying best centre back in the league, or is he being found out a bit? I don't know. I haven't watched him as much as you lot.
He's up there. He's still up there because even if you look at our goals, none of them are necessarily his fault. Do you get what I mean? Our defense is still better. But
do you know what I find interesting about it? I think Thiago Silva's been very good this season. If Harry Maguire got turned the way Gundogan turned Silva the other day, this is why I say to Man United fans, don't get drawn into the availability heuristic there. That would have trended with clown music all over the internet, and I didn't see it once against Thiago. Did you get where I'm coming? The way that he got touched and turned by Gundogan, who's not exactly fast. Like, you wouldn't look at him and go, oh, he's a fast, fleet-footed player. I do find it interesting that, like, the level of bias we have. If a certain defender gets turned inside out, no one talks about it. It's somebody else, and suddenly there's, there would have been that kind of like that whoop pop music, and then
Well, the thing is, it happens to everyone, though, isn't it? Even you said it.
Of course it does.
Van Dijk just made it seem for a period. It made it seem like he couldn't be turned, but even he's been turned. Everyone's been turned, isn't it?
No, it's true. I think he's played well. I think it's fair for him to stay in that sort of category. Signing of the season. Everybody on that list so far. I'm going to go to Matisse first on this. Who do you think deserves to be the signing of the season thus far?
Do you know what? There's no real standout candidates. I do feel like Højbjerg should be way higher than he is. I feel like Højbjerg should be at least in killing it for me, because I think he's pivotal to. Because as a Chelsea fan, we've had Jose Mourinho twice. He is everything that Jose Mourinho stands for, and without him, that team would be completely different. Do you know what I mean? He relies on him so much to do that work that he gets through in midfield to allow the likes of Ndombele, who's improved this season, to do his thing as well. So yeah, I don't know if I wouldn't say he's signing the season yet, but I say he's definitely killing it. I would say
that Diaz might be signing.
Diaz, yeah.
I think Diaz might be signing. So you look at Man City's defensive record and compare it to last season. I think that is good. They're not scored a lot of goals, but they're in striking distance of the top. Yeah. And I think obviously his signing, as well as the form of John Stones, compared to last season where they're playing Fernandinho and having to bring in Otamendi, Laporte hasn't even been missed. I think it's very short. It's very still early to say, I guess. And I'm not saying he's been far better than everyone else, but if you have to put someone in there, I think Diaz might just edge Højbjerg.
But for me though, is it because that Diaz has been that good, or Pep has slightly tweaked his system a little bit to be a little bit more defensive and a little bit more cautious though? I do look at all aspects of the team, innit? I personally put Højbjerg there. He's been consistent from the start of the season up until this day. Like that guy, he's formidable. Like, I'll put Højbjerg there. If you have to put someone, and I'll put Højbjerg ahead of Diaz, even though I like what Diaz has done to the City team at the back. But look at City, and you can see that they are more compact defensively than they were last season anyway. So I can't put Diaz in sign of the season yet.
But what about biggest impact though? Because
one second, guys. Sorry, I don't disagree that he hasn't changed his style. But then you look at Son and Kane, and we talk about them possibly being the best partnership in the league. But that's because Jose's put a style that directly suited them. So do you do you put it as a notch against them, or is it's the buy that you play to your team's strength?
True. No, but it's also consistency. Like, from the jump, Højbjerg came into this team and he made that impact immediately. Pep had to change his system for us to see that Diaz is very solid defensively. Jose's system has been there from the start, and he's been good in that system from the start. Do you understand? That's basically what I'm saying.
No, I agree with you. Do you know what I would say is this? Diaz, I think, has done well this season, but I've only really started to hear his name mentioned after the last few performances. The last two games, everybody started talking about how good he's become.
Terry,
Yeah,
that's because
before
we
that.
don't focus on Man City. Let's be
No,
honest.
No, but really and truly,
Let me finish my point. I don't think that's fair. I mean, we've heard a lot about Man City. We talk about Man City. I watched every single Man City game, and he's been good. And the last 2 or 3 games that I've watched him in, he's looked fantastic. The game against Manchester United midweek, the standout moment, that block for Rashford's shot that was going to go in, like the velocity and the you could see the direction it was going and stood out. But Højbjerg for me has just been standout since the first game of the season. Hasn't put a foot wrong. He's been instrumental in sort of the growth and progression of Tottenham, who, you know, for the large part of this season have been better than Man. They're a rough patch in the middle, but they're going to come good again. I mean, he would be my pick.
15 million.
Yeah, that's
Diaz
the point.
costs
The money, 15 mil. Yeah.
Diaz costs how much?
Guys, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by Man City's defensive improvements being down to one player. Pep has done a lot to do that. Don't be fooled by Tottenham and the midfield being so much better because of Højbjerg. Jose Mourinho has a lot to do with that. In my opinion, the person who's had the most impact in their team getting results week in, week out was Jota when he was playing. When he was healthy, he was impacting games. He was scoring the crucial goal. He was scoring the first goal.
Hang on a minute. But that makes no logical sense, right? You just named 2 managers who play who are outright two of the greatest system managers in the history of football, and you basically said their systems have enabled these 2 players to do well. And then Jota, you've made it sound like it's just he's gone in and rejuvenated Liverpool. No,
I didn't finish my point, Terry.
But you don't need to finish it. You literally don't need to finish your point from that stage, because Jota's gone in and just done what Mane and Firmino have failed to do on a regular basis this season. He's put the ball in the back of the net at the end of the process. So that's Højbjerg coming. 1 second, AJ. That's no different to Højbjerg holding a midfield in the style of Jose, or Diaz marshalling a defense in the style of Pep. I don't understand your logic, mate.
Okay, so since Jota's got injured, we've seen that there's been a drop off from their attack. They've had situations where you could see that if they had Jota, they would be playing better.
Yeah, and so let me just go back to him on this. Sorry, KJ. That's the whole point. Jota would have finished those chances off. If you take out Højbjerg and play a different hold, you play Harry Winks, are they holding that midfield as strong as they are, or are they being penetrated? Probably penetrated. If you take out Diaz and you throw back in last year's centre-back pairing, they'd be leaking at the back, City, like they were last season. So they're all doing the same thing. You're just noticing it with Jota because Jota's left the team, as opposed to the other 2 are still in it. And interestingly, like, their teams have continued to improve and move up the league, and Liverpool have regressed and gone backwards. So it shows the impact they've had. I'm not saying Jota shouldn't be there or thereabouts, but I don't even think that Jota as the pick is wrong. But your logic is it's literally hypocritical, I think, by what you're saying.
My main point would be this: who's played the most games this season because they're fit and willing to fight.
Yeah,
it's been Højbjerg. Yeah. It's been Højbjerg, and we've been mentioning availability a lot in this whole video. So how can you pick a player of the season or signing of the season so far when one of them has missed out a quarter of it?
Mm-hmm.
And there's one guy who's been fit for every game, and he's been impacting that team every game. Yeah, don't come to me with that.
Can I say
sorry, Nick. Sorry, Nick. 1 second. One thing I'll say about looking at this whole list right now. One thing that I realize is the people with the highest expectations are at the top at dead, and the people with the lowest expectations, except for a couple, are near the top end of the echelon. That has something to do with our choices. Because right now, every single person in dead, to a T, we had high expectations for almost. Willian, we had expectation for. Partey, we had expectation for. Timo Werner, Havertz.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. You guys had generational talent. You guys had. So don't
Willian.
We told you.
I'm talking about every single person on this list. I'm not just talking about my players only.
Yeah, Vinicius didn't have their expectations.
So let me guys, 1 second, everyone, 1 second, please. So, Gal, when you look, I get you're saying that expectations play a part in it, but is there anybody there that you think we've unfairly put into dead or poor who's performed? So my point would be this: if they should look at the ones with high expectations, I would say the ones with high expectations were Partey, Werner, Van der Beek, Havertz. Ben Chilwell's only in there because of a super chat, so we'll move him out of this conversation. and Thiago. So 5, right? Have any of those 5 players been better than anybody in playing well or anybody in killing it?
What you have to understand is they're going to be judged.
No, that's not my question. Answer my question. Have any of them been better than any of the players in those higher categories? I would say no. So I don't think they're just there because of the expectation. I think they're there because they have legitimately been inconsistent, poor, or dead. I don't think they're in that space because one cost 80 million and Van der Beek was expected to challenge Pogba's position. That's the point. They haven't done what they're meant to have done. You know, everybody else, if you look at Jota, he's come in and done more. Højbjerg, he's come in and done more than we expected. And been brilliant in his own right, I think.
Can we move Jota down? Because, I mean, he can't be killing it still. Like, he's been out.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. Can we even put him in playing well? That's present tense still. Maybe we should move it down.
It's harsh.
I don't know.
I'm petty.
Can I just say on my Diaz point, it's not to take away anything that Anita said.
Terry, you're so petty, man.
No one spoke about Ferran Torres, bro. I tried to say maybe we should move him up.
Yeah, I think
what, bro?
no, he's been very good in the Champions League.
The champion, but listen.
Is this a Premier League tier or is it?
I love how Terry changed the tiers just so he can get Cavani a little higher, fam. I know why he did it, bro. But Ferran Torres, for me, Premier League only, he's been poor. Like I haven't seen him do much. Like I feel like you should be in poor already, but you guys including all these other games that.
Well, if Ferran Torres is an average, then Ziyech should be an average as well. To be honest.
Where's Ziyech right now? Wait, what?
Jota should be in the same place. I'll tell you why. The same impact Jota was having was the same kind of the same similar impact Ziyech was having.
No.
Yes, it was.
The thing is, me, yeah, at the time, don't worry, I finished work now. I have time for you. At the time, yeah, everyone was talking about how good Jota was and everything and the impact he's done to Liverpool. But at the same time, everyone was also talking about the impact Ziyech had for Chelsea after he came back from his injury. So if you're gonna move Ziyech down, you're gonna have to move Jota down because at the same time, they've made the same amount of impact for each of their teams. And when they've lost both of them, they've had the same detriment to each of those teams. So you can't move one without the other, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm happy to move both.
Of course you are.
I don't mind moving both, but Ziyech has contributed a goal or assist in terms of the Premier League in 2 games. He's only started 4 games. Now I haven't got Jota's stat right in front of me, but I'm thinking, did he get a hat trick in the Champions League?
We're not talking about Champions League. We're talking about Premier League, bro.
We are still.
We're not. We're talking
about everything. Oh my God.
But yeah, I said it was 2 games that he really turned up in against. Who was it against? Burnley. And United.
Oh, he's been injured most of the season.
I don't think you can compare to the impact Jota had. No, I'm not saying he's a bad player. You know, I'm just saying I don't think we can compare that to the impact that for me I saw from Jota over just those 2 games. That's just the way I saw it personally. I think Premier League Jota scored in 5 games.
But the thing is, what I think here is that Jota came in and he scored goals. Jota is a goal scorer. Ziyech is not necessarily a goal scorer, which is why if you are a Chelsea fan and you watch Chelsea and you see the impact he's had on our team, you'll probably understand it a bit better than a Man United fan will understand it when he's been watching Jota come in and score banging goals. But the impact Ziyech has had is more of on team play. The way Ziyech has fit into our squad like a glove and been better than everyone who had started playing for let's say 3-4 games before he came in. That's something to be acknowledged because he became the highlight of Chelsea after everyone else had already started before him. So if you're gonna move Jota, like I said, you're gonna have to move Ziyech with him. Wherever Jota goes, Ziyech is going, and I will fight you.
I'm not gonna say
I will fight you,
like that, but I think you can move them in different directions. I don't think they go hand in hand.
They hold hands.
And I disagree. And guess what? If I want to be petty, if I want to be really petty, Ziyech came from a whole nother league. Jota's been doing it in this league already. So if I want to be petty, if the person that needs to be above, it is Ziyech. Thank you.
Matisse's face there is making me laugh, bro. He's like, yeah, I like that comment. In fairness, that is a you know what I'd say is a fair comment, right? Because Werner's come out and said this. We know Donny van der Beek is on a very specific training regime at the minute to bulk up, gain strength. We've heard young Ahmad Traore talk about how the club put him on a training regime 3 months ago to build up and bulk and start growing muscle because the Premier League's harder. I've been very upset this week with Premier League fans who are trying to pretend, basically to try and push their Ollie to knobhead, not picking Donny van der Beek agenda. That have tried to push this weird notion that the Premier League isn't the hardest and most physical league in Europe to play in. It's something, do you know what's weird? It's something we used to celebrate, but every now and then...
Apparently it's fine because you can drive to Holland and you can drive to these different countries, innit? Like...
Stop it, AJ, stop it. There's a super chat here that says, without Jota, Liverpool are still top of the league. Without Ziyech, Chelsea are fighting with Arsenal. Not the same impact.
Oh, come on.
Guys, 1 sec. I need to go back to him. If that is that you moving, I'm going to take that as you're moving Jota up a level. I need to know because I want to respect these super chats. So I'm going to move him back up to played well. What were you going to say,
Why
Nick?
would that be? Why would that be in Jota's favour?
It's the other way around.
It's the other way around.
It's the other way around.
Oh, it's the other way around. So, we're moving Ziyech back up. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Sorry. I misunderstood. Yeah, what were you going to say, Nix?
I was going to say, well, look at Liverpool's form since Jota. The reason why Man United can go above them is because they ain't scoring no goals. So, I mean, you can't say that, they're top because... Maybe they're top because of what Jota did before he got injured. But
I guess we can say the same thing for Ziyech then. We can say the same thing. Maybe we will be near you guys if Ziyech was still there. We can say the same thing. Anything you can say for Jota, I will say for Ziyech.
I disagree because
Ziyech is my new Hazard, my darling.
You were scoring before Ziyech came in, and you were still dropping points when Ziyech came in as well. 3-3 with that. I think it was West Brom or Southampton. You didn't do nothing against Man United.
Ziyech weren't in those games.
Yes, he was.
Not Southampton.
You sure, Paul?
Southampton. Yeah, Southampton. I think he came off the bench. In that one.
So how many times has Ziyech started? How many times has Jota started? It's pretty much equal, no?
Somebody here says, why is Ben Chilwell in dead? That's because somebody Monzo paid over £20 in total, put him in there, so I can move him up one category for that super chat from DJ there. By the way, just out of interest, I haven't seen Daniel on any streams in ages. I hope you're well, Daniel. He's another Chelsea fan who's always watching the show, not even seeing comments. I can move him up four for that. Long time no see from him, so he's moved up there. That's why he was in dead. No one on the panel moved in there, but the super chatters and the viewers get to have their say. We respect it. But listen, Matisse, of all the Chelsea players that haven't maybe started brilliantly yet, who's the one that you look at that you think by the end of the season we'll see the true him playing at his full potential?
I think it's probably going to be Ziyech for the experience. I think he brings something different to the team that nobody else really has brought, which is the almost the balls to play the killer ball type thing. Do you know what I mean? Where the rest of the players seem to be a shell within themselves. They seem to be, a little bit, the form of the club seem to be taking its toll on them. They're quite young as well, a lot of them. Whereas Ziyech, I think the fact that he is 27, he was literally Ajax's main man in terms of he was winning the Player of the Years, but he was also the main man in terms of the chance creations. He's used to taking on responsibility. So I expect if he does get back to full fitness, I expect him to impact this team probably more than the rest of them. For this season and long term, I'd say Kai Havertz will come into his own and probably be the best out of all of the new attacking signings.
I think that's a fair shout.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course you can, go.
Why is Reguilon still playing well? He hasn't been playing well the past 5 games.
And
he actually has been benched some games for Ben Davis.
Okay.
Yeah, that's because he broke rules, bro.
So there's two things. Yeah, firstly, he broke rules for that. Secondly, rotation at this time of the year is very important. And he literally set up the opening goal in the semi-final of a major competition the other night. I know it against the joint semi-finalists.
Brentford.
Really?
Were they Igal, were they in the semi-final?
They're still semi-finalists.
If I'm telling you now, if Smith Rowe or this is a different player, if Kieran Tierney scored a goal in a semi-final or final against a team in the championship, would you celebrate it?
Listen.
You know you would.
Nah, listen to me.
I'm sorry, bro.
Listen to me. If Jota and Ziyech are in the categories that they're in, there is no way you can still have Reguilon up there. He needs to be
Reguilon's
dropped down a
been
level.
Reguilon's been very good this
Why?
season.
Why?
If Man United finished second and Arsenal won the Carabao Cup, they will say they had a better season than Man United. They would say that.
Sorry, say that again. I didn't hear the beginning.
If Man United finished second and Arsenal won the Carabao Cup, they would tell us they had a better season than Man United.
That's dead banter, bro. Dead banter.
You
Anyways,
would say
moving on to real facts.
You said it last year.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We said we had a better season. I never said that. I said I had a better season than Leicester, who finished 5th.
No, you said you had a better season than
I
United.
never said. Don't put words in my mouth. Don't put words in my mouth. Don't put words in my mouth. Let's look at this right here. What has Reguilon done? Has he impacted games? Last time I seen him impact a game, yes, he did get the assist against to win the game or whatever against championship team. Who cares about that?
No, semi-final of the League Cup.
No, I don't care about that.
Clutch
I don't
game.
care about that. I don't care about Tottenham. I'm talking about the actual fact that this guy hasn't done anything.
Semi-final.
He hasn't done anything since he faced Chelsea in the what do you call it? When did they play Chelsea?
What?
In the League
Wait,
Cup?
which time?
That was the last time.
The League Cup?
No.
What?
Yeah.
Hey,
What?
someone bring Maya, fam.
You know what's mad? You know what's mad about this, Igal? What I love, I actually love this about you. You legitimately said in the summer, and KJ's probably got a clip somewhere, that Arsenal had a better season than Man United and Chelsea for finishing 8th and winning a trophy. You said it was better than us coming 3rd and 4th. But the reason was because your trajectory was going up and you'd prefer it. You're now saying you didn't say that and you only said it about Leicester. You are telling porky pies, my brother, and that is Cockney rhyming slang for you're lying, bruv. Liar. Liar.
Show me the footage, I believe it.
KJ, we need that clip.
Hang on, audience. The audience remember that. The audience are going to remember that. 100% you said that, bruv. Oh, you're a proper liar, bruv. You Americans in your lies, bruv. You Americans in your lies, brother. It's crazy.
Show me the footage. Look, my whole thing is in comparison to Ziyech and Jota. If you're gonna put Reguilon above them, they need to be. You need to give me the context. Why is he above them?
You've got because he's done very, very well. I'm going to do a little thing. I think he's done very, very well. So why do you want to move him down? What's your rationale?
My rationale is in comparison to Jota and Ziyech, I feel like he hasn't had as big of an impact playing as a left back on that Spurs team that's already set up to play defensively.
No. Do you remember who their left back was before Reguilon, fam?
Ben Davis,
yeah.
Rose.
And look at the levels that Reguilon's been bringing for them at left back, bruv. Come on, man.
When Ben Davis even came in, he still set up one of the main goals for
lose the agenda, bro.
Nah, bro, I'm not having it. This guy needs to be dropped down to at least average.
I think he's playing
average.
Yeah.
I mean,
how are you gonna have Jota? How are you gonna have Jota in average and Reguilon in playing well?
Well, you expect every left back is not Robertson and Trent. You know, like they're not all going to be spamming crosses and getting 20 assists a season. Like, what are you expecting from a left back? I think he's been pretty solid. I'm not sure. Is there errors in his game that you're seeing that he's being exposed? Like Doherty, for example, he's been poor. Like you can say that he's been a poor signing so far. But I think Reguilon's been good. I think no one's saying he's like banging, but I think
above average
personally.
Listen, if we're doing comparisons and we're saying based on this person should not be in that spot. To me, the one person who should not be in that playing well area is Reguilon, because his team has been conceding goals. He has not been constantly taking the game by the scruff of the neck and doing what other people are doing. He is not that guy.
Sorry. Just for reference, Spurs have conceded the second least goals in the league, two more than Man City. So I'm not, again,
I don't know where you're coming from.
I'm not sure why.
Also, you're saying you grab the game by the scruff of the neck. He's a left back.
I don't know.
I'm not saying
what you expect from him.
I'm not talking about Reguilon. I'm saying in general, in comparison to Jota, how is Jota in average and Reguilon in playing well? That's not.
I mean, I play different positions, bruv. You're comparing a left back to a freaking centre forward wide player, fam.
I mean, I would have had Ziyech where's Ziyech now? Played well. I would have had Ziyech down and Jota up personally. But I definitely wouldn't have Ziyech above Jota first and foremost. But Reguilon's played all season. Neither of those two have actually played all season. So even the metric by which you're judging them isn't the same. You're saying Jota's been great when he's played, then he's been injured. Reguilon's been, I would say, just consistently good throughout the season. I think there's that as well. He hasn't been injured.
Can I ask you a question, Igal? If Kieran Tierney was on this list for his season performance, where would you place Kieran Tierney?
The past 3 games, or the past 2 games he played.
No. This season. Listen, let me ask my question again.
Yeah.
If we start, if Tierney signed this summer, based on his performances for the whole of the 2020-21 season, where would you place Kieran Tierney on this list? I'm legit interested to know. Average as well. So I'm just looking at them against each other. I mean, on nearly every defensive metric, Reguilon stripes Kieran Tierney out of there. Tackles made 2.1 per game compared to 0.7. Fouls conceded about the same. Aerial duels over 1 a game. Tierney under 1 a game. Ground duel success is the same. Interceptions, Reguilon makes more per game. Clean sheets, more. Goals conceded per game, less. Chances created, more. So he's literally outperforming every Premier League metric of Kieran Tierney this season. Looking at it now. So if he's average and he's outstripping Kieran Tierney, who is arguably one of the best left backs in the league, surely his impact's got to be better than average. We've got a super chat here that says, let's put Gabriel 1 level higher. So we will based on the super chat. There we go. There was another super chat that came through that I missed. I'm going to go and try and find it now. Original base, and a Reguilon is killing it. Kuzigal just should let it go. Also, hold tight on the panel. I'm COVID free. Ghostwriter really said 8th and a trophy was better than Man United and Chelsea. Ghostwriter did say that as well. 110%. There was another super chat as well saying, as an Arsenal fan, I disagree with Igal. Most people are disagreeing with him. Is Igal... there we go. I don't feel right even saying that word. KJ, say that word properly for me, bruv.
I don't even know what he's trying to say now. Ross Clark.
Oh, the accent, bruv.
Lion.
I didn't got the accent with it, bruv. There's an accent on that, and it wouldn't sound right when saying it like a Cockney, bruv. A super chat here. I know.
Original base, and he said put Reguilon. He said Reguilon in killing it.
Oh, Reguilon in killing it. So Reguilon goes up to killing it now. Listen, Igal triggers the audience. We had a big super chat here from Gio, who says, I know Ben Godfrey is not on the list, but he is killing it. He has played right back, left back, and centre back, every position. But he's preferred. Yeah, I think Ben Godfrey's Ben Godfrey's one of those signings that I think a lot of teams sort of over because of the level that he was at before in terms of playing at Norwich, etc. So I was surprised to see less. I thought there'd be more Norwich players pipped out of that team, if that makes sense. Max Aarons looks like he's linked with a few clubs now. The Arsenal are linked with. Do you want him, by the way, Igal Buendia? Do you think he'll improve Arsenal?
I think if he's given a platform at Arsenal to play around with better players, he would definitely improve us big time. In the sense that he's right now in the Championship creating the most chances. In the Premier League last year, when he was in the Premier League, he was third. I think he was fourth behind Kevin De Bruyne, Grealish, and Trent Alexander-Arnold. And right now, he's created 62 big chances in all of Europe. This guy is scoring goals. Already has 7+ goals, 9+ assists in the Championship. Last year in the Premier League, he had 1 goal, 7 assists. In a Norwich team that was struggling, not even playing well, he was able to do that. And I think he would definitely be able to improve us.
Igal, you just bigged the man up for doing something in the Championship, and I thought you can't rate things that happen in the Championship, bro.
No, I said in the Premier League. I gave you context. In the Premier League last year, he got 1 goal and 7 assists, and he created the most chances.
Nothing he's done this season matters, though, or the season before last, does it? Because it was Championship.
That doesn't mean anything to me. I will tell you the truth. I generally don't care what people do against Championship sides in cup competitions. But when it comes to your performance as an individual, I can only base you on where you've played.
So you're saying that you don't care about the performances against a Championship team in the cup competition, but when it comes to Championship teams, it just matters about the performance of the individual against that team. Is that what you're saying?
No, you're not listening to what I'm saying. What I said was
because you're not making sense.
That's 2 completely different things. You're talking about how I'm judging Tottenham against Brentford in comparison to how I'm judging a player who plays in the Championship.
They're waiting for you to bury yourself, bro.
Just what you're talking about.
It makes sense, bro.
You disregarded an individual player's assist in a semi-final because it was against a championship team, but you just sat there and waxed lyrical about the volume of chances and performances from a championship player against other championship teams. It's hypocritical. And I know why, because you always want to put Tottenham down. I love it, but I didn't even mean for you to walk into that. When I asked you about Buendia, I was like, oh, he's gonna mention what he's done in the championship, isn't he? And I was like, you've done what I like to call a have hope. Have hope we do this on a very regular basis on the show. Big up yourself, brother.
Let me finish about Buendia though. Everyone here knows we lack creativity. This guy last year in the Premier League, forget about the championship then, he was the 4th most creative player in the Premier League. That is a fact. Behind the likes of Jack Grealish, Kevin De Bruyne, and Trent Alexander-Arnold. That right there improves us immediately because coming into our team, a team that lacks creativity, he would improve us from there. In addition to that, he's a young profile. He's an Argentinian international, Argentinian player. He would improve us also the fact that he's coming from a championship team. He would have a chip on his shoulder, and he's one of those guys, a profile of a player that would want to grow and become better. That to me is better than going and getting an Isco, who to me has already played at the top level and would come into our team and not have the hunger and desire.
How would you know that?
The one thing I would say
over Isco, that is a big statement.
I would prefer Buendia over Isco.
Hold on, Igal. The one thing I would say is any football player that Arsenal are linked to, they always think is the world's best player in it. So I'm not surprised when they end up flopping in it.
Do you remember?
I was going to ask him.
He's the world's best player.
Someone's party better than Kimmich.
I never said that.
I know you didn't. After fans, I got a super chat I got to do. I missed it from Felix, who says Neeks has a Chelsea agenda. Shout out Anita for putting him in his place. Put Ben Chilwell up a level. He has been playing with a recurring ankle injury, so I moved him up a level. Benny's back in average now.
Anytime, Paul. Anytime.
Eric, I just say I do have a Chelsea agenda.
You do.
Listen.
Anita
also has
an agenda. You hate me.
I don't get why people get angry when I don't get why people get angry when rivals have an agenda against a rival club. Like, why are we rivals?
We're meant to have an agenda.
It's fine because Anita also has a United agenda. Like she don't like to admit she does.
I don't.
She has a Neeks agenda and
I call things.
And Neeks.
I got an agenda. Just the other day I was saying you lot are on a good run to win the league.
You're stuttering like Stormzy, babes. You okay?
AJ, the moment we got knocked out of the cup, she was lapping it up on social media.
No. Purely because of Alfie.
I promise, like, and even it's been a weird these past few months.
That was you.
That was me, Paul. I speak clearly, elegantly.
Jota's now been moved back up to killing it. Jota has been moved back into killing it here with his super chat. We've got 5 minutes of the stream left to go. So if you want to make any changes to this board, get your super chats in now. Jota back where Liverpool fans think he belongs.
Igal, if Buendia comes into Arsenal, is he going to be your Bruno and will he be better than Bruno?
I can't say that yet. I wouldn't be able to gauge that.
I love your
To me, I'll tell you this. I rate Bruno as probably one of the best players in the league right now based on his output.
Ever.
As based on his output, Bruno right now, I would say he's the best player in the league.
You know what's
do I think Buendia can be the best player in the league? That is ridiculous for me to say. So I can't say that yet.
But can he be? Okay, that's fair enough. Can he be your Bruno there?
Has he got the ability?
Say it again.
Has he got the ability to surpass what Bruno has done?
Give him a bigger platform. We don't know what he can do.
Whoa! You are really trying to set a guy up.
No, that's true. No, that's true though. Give a player a bigger platform. You don't know what they can accomplish.
Real, he is. I'd say he's more creative than Bruno in the fact that his passing accuracy and his chance creation will be a lot better with. Like for me, Bruno, he misplaces a lot of passes, so he actually has to try a lot to get a bit of output out of him, where his finishing is clear. So I think Buendia will be more efficient with his creativity, and Bruno's just a better goal scorer. So that's kind of how I see it. But I wouldn't say.
So Matisse is saying that Buendia will be clear of Bruno. That's all. That's what I'm hearing.
That's what
No.
I heard Buendia will be clear of Bruno.
You wish you was hearing it.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, but it's not true. It's not true. I'm saying Buendia doesn't have the goal scoring ability to be clear of Bruno, to impact like Bruno's had. I know Bruno's had a lot of assists, but for me, Buendia is just a bit more inventive. I saw Bruno the other day in his last game against Man City, and I thought like he misplaced a lot of passes, and he does give the ball away a lot, Bruno. I think a lot of Man United fans would.
Yeah, but I'm sure Buendia will also give the ball away a lot also.
He probably will, but I don't think he'll give it away as much as Bruno does. I think Bruno gives it away a lot.
No, listen, I give it. It's interesting. With Bruno's biggest weakness is giving that ball away at the edge of the box where you feel it's like going to be an easy pass. What I do find interesting, I'd love to do this experiment. It would cost money, and you need a big group of people, and you'd have to keep it under wraps until the end of the experiment. But I would love to sit in a room with let's just say us 7 that are on this stream now, and watch every single top 6 teams Premier League game, but look for the mistakes of players. And I'm talking about detail it, create a kind of a dossier almost, and the statistics on it, and then present it. And what I mean by that is, I watched Bruno's. He had 2 opportunities to play fairly easy passes for a player of his level that would have put us in on goal the other day, and he missed them both.
Yeah,
I saw Bruno not Bruno. KDB did the same thing. He had an easy cross at the near post, and he dragged it back, and Maguire cut it out. And there was another one that was a simple pass at the edge of the box, and he kind of miscontrolled it, and he lost it. But no one said anything. The same as Maguire, he gets the clown music every time he gets turned, but then Gundogan literally sends him back to Paris, and there's no mention of it. I do think certain players, Lukaku always suffered with it. Every bad touch Lukaku had, it was just focused on and looked at. But on average in the Premier League, Mo Salah and Harry Kane lost possession for their team with their first touch twice the amount of times that Lukaku did. But just certain players, we have this tendency and propensity to want to focus on. I'd love to do a study where you could just watch it, and aim is not to look for anything good. It's to look for how many mistakes a player makes, and then to work out who actually makes the most amount of mistakes, who messes up the most amount of simple passes. Do you get where I'm coming from? Because I do feel some players can just get away with absolute, like every time Pogba loses the ball in midfield, the world and his dog jump on it like a bitch in heat. And then I'm sure there are other players like Kante. I bet if Kante lost it 3 times in a game, nobody would care. It's just because of maybe a perception people have. I've got a few more super chats here before we end this stream. First one says Ziyech into average. Ziyech is being moved down to average there. We have one here from Rodrigo that says move Sancho to signing of the season. Very funny.
Hey, why would you say that? That's so
very funny. I like that one. That still pains me that he's not here. But we have come to the end of the stream now, ladies and gentlemen. Matisse, thank you very much for coming on, mate, making your debut. Look forward to getting you on again soon, mate.
Absolute pleasure, man. Appreciate it. And yeah, it's been good chatting with you all. And like I said, at the end of the season, we'll see how the tier looks. It's going to be interesting. Right now, I think hopefully some of those players in dead, especially my ballers that need to step up, hopefully they won't be sitting there too much longer. Because
and we'll be doing this again in about another couple of months' time. So that will take us into sort of March, sort of getting towards April, and it'll be interesting. And we've done this with each individual squad and with player of the seasons and teams of the year as well. So every couple of months, we're going to revisit these tierings. I'm really intrigued to see how the perception of us as a panel and the audience changes over the course of the year. And then the idea will be that when we finalize at the end of the season, go back to the beginning, just to look at that arc and pattern of, who stepped up. I think there's going to be 1 or 2 players on that list that have really big second halves of the season, and you all hope it's your player.
Well,
I'm sorry, great.
One player that won't get added. One player that won't get added for United is Casado, because that deal is now off.
Did you see the tweet from
Fabrizio? No, I'm looking now.
Casado is not off, fam.
The real question is, was it ever on?
I'd be on.
Apparently, United were in control of the situation, had all the power in that.
We're always in control. Apparently.
That's what I mean. Control FC.
In the summer, what did they say? Man United are relaxed with their summer. I was nervous.
That's what happens with corporate spin. Look, this is one of those deals where I'm gutted to see that we're not signing him, because there was a lot of talk about it. But at the same time, let's wait and see what happens, because he could turn into William Carvalho. Equally, he could be Kante. You just never know. The thing with fans, I always say, slow down a little bit, because you never know how good they're going to be. I remember when we missed out. I'll give it a more famous example. How many Man United fans right now are upset that we didn't spend £50 million on Renato Sanchez? Like on socials, I don't think, other than Neeks, none of you were on socials back then. And Man United fans were raging. There was we're going to burn effigies of Woodward because we didn't land him. Now it's like, oh, thank God we didn't. So listen, we'll see what happens with that. Man United are ignorant and arrogant. Cool, bro. I listen, Twisted. I respect you as a member and a viewer, but I don't get what you make so many comments that lack context. Explain why, please. Listen, everyone who's tuned in today, thank you very, very much. We're back live after Liverpool versus Aston Villa's under-8s this evening in the FA Cup, so make sure you're tuning in. I was so excited about that game, and I'm not anymore. It's absolutely gutting. Covering the FA Cup all weekend, plus transfer news, if any actually arises. And then the early part of next week, we will be building up to, for me, one of the most exciting days I've had in football for the past 8 years, and that's Man United potentially going clear at the top of the league, which I don't think has happened since Fergie retired. So even if it's for 3 days, I don't care. I'm going to celebrate it. I'm going to be happy.
We can remove the joint from the top.
Yeah, exactly. Joint what? Listen, Matisse, thank you very much for coming on, mate, making your debut. Really appreciate it. Everyone go check you out. Where can everyone find you on socials, bro?
The YouTube at the moment that we're pushing, MAH on YouTube. We're uploading daily there. At the moment we're streaming, but we do videos as well from time to time as well. So yeah, check us out on there. Had Darren Bent on yesterday, which was great. Really good conversation with him. So yeah, check us out on YouTube.
Sweet as, get that done. And finally, we have a link in our description below. The sponsorship hasn't gone live yet, but there's no harm in us starting early. Lads, if you want fresh balls, right, clean, fresh, non-sweaty balls, sign up to Manscaped now and we'll give you 20%. Trust me, blokes, if you have hair in certain parts of your body, it's disgusting and it's rank. So get rid of it, clean yourself, be fresh, bruv. No, all I'm saying is no breadcrumbs. No,
girls don't like it, bro.
Allowed. Girls don't like breadcrumbs. It's facts. Go check it and a 20% discount with my code TFT. There's a link. It's true. Listen, mate.
What the hell is breadcrumbs? That's what I want to know.
I don't know about breadcrumbs, but you know,
dirty, bro. Dirty. Listen, nice, clean. Keep it like a dolphin's nose, is what I'm saying, right? Like a dolphin's nose. 20%.
I need to left the chat.
20% discount right about now. TFT is what you need. The link down there as well. Manscaped.com. Go sign up to that right now. Get that bought, and we'll see you. All the men are like, what's that all about? Yes, bro. Go sort your lives out.